Assalamualaikum everyone and welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to share with you this pizza pinwheel recipe. It's stuffed with the pulled chicken tikka and tons of cheese. For the complete video recipe you can find that on my blog hungryforgoodies.com, and please do subscribe to my channel and follow me on Instagram and Facebook to always be updated, and let's get started. I'm starting off by making this pulled chicken tikka. I ran out of my ready-made chicken tikka masala powder, so I'm making my own from scratch. So here I'm just adding a nutmeg in the blender and a teaspoon of cumin seeds. I'm also going to add some cardamom pods, a teaspoon of dried fenugreek leaves, a small chunk of cinnamon stick, some mace, some coriander seeds, and some cloves. Then I'm going to grind everything well in a blender to make a fine powder, and once I've done that I'm going to place this powder mix in a small container. Next I'm going to add a teaspoon of garlic powder, some turmeric powder, some red chili powder. You can add as much as you like depending on how spicy you want it. I'm also going to add a teaspoon of paprika powder, some red food coloring. You can use orange or red, whichever you prefer. Now I'm going to close the lid and mix this well. So here we have it, our chicken tikka masala powder is done. Here I have two chicken breasts which I'm poking with a fork just to make some tiny holes so that the lemon juice and all the seasoning will penetrate the chicken. Here I'm squeezing half of a lemon juice. Then I'm going to sprinkle a tablespoon of this chicken tikka masala powder I made earlier. I'm going to sprinkle this on each side of the chicken breast, and then I'm going to spread this evenly with my fingers. I'm also going to sprinkle on top of it some salt. You can add as much as you like. I'm using a teaspoon of salt for 2 chicken breasts. And again I'm going to spread this evenly with my fingers so that all the surface of the chicken is fully coated. Because I didn't have a ginger powder, I didn't add that to my chicken tikka masala powder mix, so I'm just going to use a fresh ginger which I've ground, and I'm going to coat the entire surface of the chicken with it. Next I'm going to flip this over and I'm going to repeat the same process with the other side of the chicken. Once I've coated each side of the chicken breast, I'm just going to let this marinate for at least 10 minutes. Next, I'm going to heat up a pan with some oil. Once the oil is hot, I'm going to place in the chicken breast, and I'm going to cook this on high flame, and I'm going to cook each side of the chicken breast for at least 5 minutes. So 10 minutes have passed since I started cooking this chicken breast. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to add a cup of chicken stock, and I'm going to cover this and let it simmer on low flame for at least 20 minutes. So after 20 minutes your chicken should look like this. It should be completely cooked by now. I'm just going to remove them from the pan and transfer them onto a plate, and I'm going to start shredding them. In the pan you should see a lot of liquid. That's alright, just keep the heat to medium so that a little bit of the liquid start evaporating. And meanwhile I'm going to shred the chicken. I'm using two forks here because it's really hot, so this will help me shred the chicken. But if you can handle the heat, go ahead and use your hands. Once I've shredded both of the chicken breast, I'm going to place this shredded chicken back in the pan. As you can see, the liquid has reduced to half, and now I'm just going to mix the chicken evenly so that it's fully coated with all the juices in the pan. After 1 to 2 minutes, I'm going to transfer this onto a plate and let this cool completely. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare the pizza dough. For the pizza dough, I'm using 3 cups of all-purpose flour, and I'm adding that in a big bowl. Next, I'm adding a teaspoon of salt, and I'm also going to add half a teaspoon of baking powder. The reason I'm adding the salt at the beginning and mixing this well is so that it doesn't get in direct contact with the yeast, because that will slow down the proofing of the yeast. Next, I'm going to add a teaspoon of sugar in the middle of my bowl, and I'm also going to add a pack of instant dry yeast. So the sugar that gets in direct contact with the yeast will actually help the dough to rise quicker. Next, I'm going to add a cup of warm water, and also I'm going to add 2 tablespoons of olive oil. I'm going to mix this well, and I'm going to start kneading this into a dough. If the dough seems a bit dry, you can add some more warm water, and just keep kneading this for at least 10 to 15 minutes. Once my dough comes together, I'm going to place the dough on a flat surface, and I'm going to keep kneading this until it turns really smooth. Another tip to get a soft but still crisp and airy pizza dough is to add a little bit of oil while you're kneading the dough. So as you can see, I'm adding a tablespoon of olive oil on my dough. I'm going to repeat this process twice, and I'm going to keep kneading this until the dough turns smooth. Then I'm going to grease my bowl with some oil, and I'm going to place back in my dough, and I'm going to top it with some oil. I'm going to cover this with a cloth, and I'm going to let this brew for at least 1 hour until it has doubled in size. Meanwhile, I'm going to prepare the tomato paste for the pizza. Here I have a cup of passata, and to that I'm adding freshly ground black pepper. I'm also going to season it with some salt and a teaspoon of pizza mix. I'm going to mix this well and set this aside. After 1 hour, my dough looks something like this. It has doubled in size. What I'm going to do is I'm going to dust some flour on my surface, and I'm going to place on top of that the dough. I'm going to press this with my hands so that all the air from the dough goes out. Now with a rolling pin, I'm going to roll out the dough into a big rectangle. Once I've rolled this out, I'm going to spread on it the passata that I made earlier, and then I'm going to top it with some sliced Gouda cheese and Emmental cheese. You can use any sliced cheese that you like. Next, I'm adding some chopped bell pepper and some chopped onion. You can use any toppings that you like. I'm also going to add some fresh sliced mushroom, obviously the shredded chicken tikka that we made earlier, and lastly I'm also going to add some more cheese. I'm adding a generous amount of grated mozzarella. Then I'm going to roll the dough. Then I'm going to cut this into 1-inch slice. So I'm going to place each slice on a baking tray lined with the parchment paper. So once I've sliced all of them, I'm going to bake this in a preheated oven on 250 Celsius for 15 to 20 minutes, or until they're golden brown and all the cheese is fully melted. And here you have it, your chicken tikka pizza pinwheels are done. I hope you enjoyed this video and give this recipe a try. I know this recipe is not an everyday kind of meal to make because it takes a lot of time, especially for the dough to make and wait for it, but it's worth it at the end of the day because it tastes really amazing. And we actually had this for dinner and it filled out our tummy as it's really quite heavy. And here's the part where I tried to cut it and everything falls apart, but look at this looks super amazing and super yummy. If you enjoyed this recipe, please give this video a big thumbs up, and if you know someone who will enjoy this recipe, please do share it with them. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel, follow me on my social medias, and I shall see you on my next one. Bye!